As crime and violence overrun our cities and homes, it's clear that to secure peace and safety, we all should obey the laws of the land. Centuries ago, God wrote His own law in stone. These commandments are forever relevant. Violating any part of God's law always brings negative consequences. More importantly, keeping all of God's law secures our peace and safety. Divine origin of the Ten Commandments. Exodus 31 verse 18 and 32 verse 16 tell us that God Himself wrote the Ten Commandments on tables of stone with His own finger. God's definition of sin and duty. The Bible defines sin as the transgression of God's law, the Ten Commandments. These commandments are perfect, providing a comprehensive guide that constitutes the whole duty of man. Purpose of the Ten Commandments. To guide us to happy living. By inculcating a high level of morality through teaching how to love God and how to love man, the Ten Commandments may clear the difference between right and wrong, and foster a virtuous cycle of safety, trust, freedom, and happiness, as enjoyed by the master of a man who would not violate his trust and sin against God. It's noteworthy that the happiness of Finland, ranked the world's happiest country for the 7th consecutive year in 2024, is explained by the high levels of trust and freedom in its society. To protect us from danger and tragedy. The tragic crime of Elliot Rodgers could have been avoided had he known how to love God and man. God's law and the judgment. As the Ten Commandments develops the selfless character necessary for life in the perfect environment of heaven, it is the standard by which God examines people in the heavenly judgment. Unchangeability of God's law. Being a law that reflects the character of God, who is good, holy, perfect, pure, just, true, spiritual, righteous, faithful, love, unchangeable, everlasting, the psalmist tells us that the Ten Commandments will stand fast forever and ever. Jesus and the law. Jesus emphasized that He did not come to destroy the law, and that the law will never pass away. He came to magnify it as the perfect guide for holy living. For example, anger without cause is a violation of the sixth commandment. God's law and salvation. The Ten Commandments is the divine character blueprint to make one a safe citizen for heaven. Rejecting any part of the Ten Commandments is rejecting that complete character, and makes one unsafe to have in heaven. However, no one is saved by keeping the law. Just as a mirror shows you the dirty parts of the face to clean, God's law shows you the character flaws that you need to overcome. God's law in character development. 10 simple rules that perfectly guide morality. For example, the 8th commandment absolutely forbids stealing, yet some teach that stealing is not a sin for a person in extreme necessity. California state even decriminalized stealing. Looting became more blatant. Stores begin to close down. Human compassion can be misguided. Christ's transformational power. Christ not only pardons repentant sinners, He also restores in them the image of God. He brings them into harmony with His law through the power of His indwelling presence. Misconceptions about God's law. Faith and grace free us from keeping the law. In fact, the scriptures teach the very opposite. Grace is like a governor's pardon to a prisoner. It frees him from the penalty, but not from the duty to obey the law. It is a big mistake to think that grace makes void the law. The New Testament doesn't teach the 10 Commandments. This is not true. We see the first commandment in Matthew, the second in 1 John and Acts, the third in 1 Timothy, the fourth in Hebrews, the fifth in Matthew, the sixth in Romans, the seventh in Matthew, and the 8th to the 10th in Romans. God's law equals Moses' law. Moses' law regulated the rituals and ceremonies in the Old Testament, and pointed forward to Christ's sacrifice. When Christ died, this law came to an end, but the 10 Commandments, God's law, stand fast forever and ever. Enraging the devil. The Bible warns of an enraged devil who will make war against those who keep God's commandments. But we are also exhorted to be patient. Christians must awake and restore God's law to its rightful place in their hearts and lives. In conclusion, as crime and violence overrun our cities and homes, the Ten Commandments, written by the finger of God, provides a comprehensive guide to help us live happy lives and protect us from danger and tragedy. It is the perfect standard used in the heavenly judgment and is as unchangeable as God Himself. Jesus did not change the law, since it's the divine character blueprint for the morality needed for eternity. Christ empowers the transformation. Misconceptions about God's law leads to it being disregarded and put aside, even by Christians who love God. Christians must awake and restore God's law to its rightful place, even if that incurs the devil's wrath. Do you believe it is essential for a Christian to obey the Ten Commandments? You've just watched a summary of Amazing Facts Lesson 6, written in stone. Use the links in the description box to read the complete lesson or view highlighted portions of the lesson.